Hi, I'm Johnny. I'm Johnny. I'm with Delphina Marketing. We're located in New York City. We've been an agency since 2008. My wife Lisa started the agency, and from time to time over the years, I've helped out. In 2020, my wife decided she was going to launch a DTC brand, direct to consumer brand, on Shopify with her partners. And to me, it was very interesting. At the time, I was a firefighter in New York City. I had been a fireman for about 17 years, and it was a neat, job. I loved what I do. I loved being a fireman, but I was also heading towards my late 40s. I was about 47, 48 when she opened up her Shopify store. And I could see that at some point I would want to move along from the fire department, stop having to get up and get out every day at 5 in the morning, get to work, get back 24, 28 hours later. There was times when, I love my job. Don't get me wrong. I love breaking windows and busting people's doors open and climbing ladders and hanging out with, the guys from the firehouse. That was just stuff I really loved to do. But I could also see that those super late nights where we'd be up all night, say we get a big fire and I would be just awake the whole night. And the next day I'd be like physically exhausted, mentally a little tired. So I could see where one day I would want to move along from being a fireman, working, making money using my body, and instead to use my brain. So I had started listening to some Shopify podcasts. First I think I was listening to some entrepreneur podcasts, and I came across Kurt Elster's The Unofficial Shopify podcast, and I started listening to that. And I read a bunch of books. I read some Brunson books. I read some copywriting books. I just, kept reading books. And it wasn't any great kind of rush. I'd had a real estate business for like 15 years. And at the time, that was actually doing pretty well. And then one day, it wasn't doing that well after a while. So I started to have some motivation to be like, you know what? I got to find something else to do. And I remember my wife had been talking about a Shopify store, and she had a physical brick and mortar business at the time. And she was like struggling a little bit to get her store inventory up to Shopify, and then figuring out how to take pictures of it, how to get the Instagram account going, how to have email marketing set up, how to ship things, deal with customer service, just like a host of all these different issues, like editing photos. And every time, when you're first starting out, you get $1,000, $2,000 in sales. You're like, wow, that's fantastic. I get $1,000 in sales. But after a couple months, you're like, I want 10,000. So you get to 10,000. You're like, oh, this is great. But it'd be pretty neat if we get to 20 grand. So you grow and grow and grow. And eventually at some point you probably hire somebody, and then, you got some people to take care of. You got some employees. So you want to give them more work. So you try to continue to grow that Shopify store. And in that first year, my wife, she opened up 3 Shopify businesses, and I did the marketing for 2 of them. And then she had a third one that she kind of was like, hands off. This one is too good for you. So her and a partner ran that brand for quite a long while. And in the beginning, I was actually crushing it on the 2 brands that I was working with. I think, I had some like $80,000 weeks with one brand, and then the other brand was doing 10 to 20 grand a month. So, we were bumping up against 6 figures a month sometimes. I wouldn't say every month, but we had some good months. And her brand was doing okay, but it wasn't doing what we were doing. And then all of a sudden one day, her brand was doing more than my brands were doing. And I was noticing it. I was seeing her and hearing her Shopify ding go off, and I'm like, oh man, it'd be nice to work on that other brand. So eventually I convinced her and her partner to let me work on that brand. And, I went into that brand. In the beginning, it was doing about $70,000 a month. And it was a t-shirt brand. And they had a great product, and they had beautiful photos, and it was just awesome. And I loved working on it. And, within a year, that brand was doing $700,000 a month. We had a 10x growth, in a year. And then that was maybe 2022. And then at some point, maybe 2023, we were doing close to, I think, $1 million a month. And business kept growing. And I remember one December, we had just had a really, really great year. I mean, it was just fantastic. It was just so sick. We had such a great month, just a great year. Everything was awesome. And then I had noticed, we were a new company, but we all pretty much, there was less than 5 of us. It was like 2 or 3 of us, part-time mostly at the time. And I think we had like 1 full-time employee, but we had like 2 or 3 part-timers. And I remember this one day, I remember hearing from somebody either on the phone or via text message that we had quite a number of customer service inquiries. And this was due to a logistics issue that we had that it was our fault basically. We messed up, and we weren't getting the product out in time. We had shipped some wrong boxes to people. We had grown so quickly in such a short period of time, and things were just not right at that point. And this, thank God, is a long time ago because I can laugh about it now. But at the time, I remember digging in and being like, okay, cool, we got to figure this out. We got to figure out what's going on. So my job was to contact all of these customer service inquiries. And so the first thing I did was open up the email box, and I noticed there was just a lot of emails in there, and it was like, who have we contacted? There was some replies. There were some ones that were unopened. There were some ones that were open, but there was no reply to them. And I wasn't sure what was going on. So I decided that, I'm a spreadsheet guy. So I said, hey, why don't we start taking all these emails out and put them in spreadsheets? So, I started just transferring data from the email box to the spreadsheet. And it was obviously a little bit difficult, but I figured that was the best way to handle it. And we started moving them over, and, we moved them all over. And then I started talking to other founders, and somebody said to me, hey, do you guys have a customer service app? And I was like, no, we don't. So eventually figured out, hey, let's get on a customer service app. But of course, when you get on one of those customer service apps, you have to build out, some automations. You have to personalize it because, you don't want them getting that message. It's like, hello, sir, thank you for reaching out to us, and we would like to thank you for being our customer. Instead, you want it to be like in the brand voice. So we had to make extensive changes to the automations and to the flows, and it was a good amount of work, but suddenly, all of a sudden, we could see that there was some progress being made, and we started getting some good reviews from customers, and it just went really well. Now, I do have somewhat of an advantage because I was in the service industry for probably close to 30 years at that point. As a little kid, I was a busboy, and then I was a waiter, and I was a manager, I was a general manager. So I had a lot of experience in the hospitality industry dealing with people, and it's not exactly, doesn't transfer over from hospitality to direct to consumer, but customer service is customer service. If you can figure out what the customer's problem is, you can identify that, you can make a solution to that, you can apologize or make restitution, and then you can move on. And one of the key things here is you should be recording everything that happens so that you can keep tabs on how many customer service issues of each type that you have. Because over time, what you really want to do is have less customer service issues. So because I was aware of these systems, because I was aware of these goals, when I set up our customer service, we eventually had 5-star customer service where customers would be like, wow, we really love this company. We love to deal with them. They're awesome. And we would get these glowing reports of great customer service reviews, not only on the website, but also on the customer service surveys that we would do. And we would just get these satisfied customers who were buying more stuff. And, as the brand scaled and scaled and scaled, we hired a couple of people here and there. And I would always train the customer service agents. And I always had this goal, to identify the problem and to acknowledge it and to make restitution, and eventually turn the customer into hopefully a brand fan. And so that's what my process looked like. And there was some SOPs that I took from the hospitality industry that I transferred to DTC. We made some documents. I did a couple of talks about this at a conference out in San Diego in 2023 or 2024. I spoke on customer service in front of a crowd of, maybe like 250 or maybe 400 people. And they were wondering, how do you manage customer service? And I explained to them that we had, at the time, I think we had one customer service rep and myself, and we were doing around 25 million a year in revenues. And people were somewhat impressed that we were able to do, a vast amount of orders with the small team that we had. And at the time, we also had very high customer service reviews. So because my wife has had an agency since 2008, one day, all of a sudden, I said to myself, you know what? We should take the thing that we did with her 8-figure, nearly $100 million in sales. We've attained nearly $100 million in sales. And if you look at our reviews, we are much closer to 5 stars than we are 4 stars. From those, collection of having sold hundreds and hundreds of thousands of orders at this point, we have close to 5 stars in customer service and reviews. So the value there is that we can then go to those people and say, hey, we want you to buy something. And that turns into a gold mine for a company. And so I decided at some point that I was hearing from other DTC brands that they didn't know how to set up an effective customer service operation. And some of them would say, hey, I'm on this app or I'm on that app, but I'm still not happy with my customer service. And I knew that there were some things that they were missing. So I did a little consulting around it. And again, I did more talks on it, and I would post on it on Twitter, and people would ask me tons and tons of questions. And then one day I said, you know what? We have to make this into a gig. So if you now go to delphinamarketing.com, you will see a gig under our services, and it says customer service build out. We build and automate your customer service. In other words, you don't have to get 700 emails about upset customers without having an easy way to track and deal with those emails. Because if you continue to build and you continue to scale, one day, if you have not set up these automations, you will be flooded with customer service when some logistical issue comes up. And before that ever happens, you really want to be prepared for it. So what we'll do in this, many brands lose sales because of a poor customer service experience. This cannot be underscored enough and highlighted. Our done-for-you service setup includes full setup and support for 45 days. So after we have completely installed your customer service automations, including frequently asked questions, we will then stay with you for 45 days to monitor your customer service reviews and the customer experience, and further look to tweak the system so that by the time we're done, you as well are getting those 5-star customer reviews and looking at customers as a resource rather than a problem. You'll get 90 days of hands-on support of us looking at your customer service inquiries, looking at the results, and tweaking the system and automations until we can get as efficient as we possibly can. I've done this on a brand receiving hundreds of thousands of customer service inquiries annually. We process over 1,000 tickets a day, Monday through Friday, consistently year-round. We're processing right now, in some months, 15,000 orders. And I would say about 7 to 10% of those sometimes result in a customer service inquiry. When there's a logistical nightmare, there's just no tell. When there's a logistical snafu, there is no telling how many customer service inquiries you will receive. For early adopters, we are offering an initial setup of $1,500. And for that $1,500, we will set you up on a customer service software product that are readily available. Now, there are several products out there. Some of them are paid and some of them are free. We have some recommendations on this. I'd love to show you the ones that I recommend that you use. You can choose your own and we can work with any. If you already have a customer service app installed on your business, but you're not happy with it, we can tailor this gig for you, change it a tiny bit. Maybe we'll give you a break if most of the automations are set up. But basically, we're going to do a full customer service audit. We're going to look at your customer service journey. We're going to look at your reviews. We're going to look at the reviews on the site. We're going to look for things that we can do to help you. One of the things we do that we really think is a great value here is we build out your frequently asked questions. Automations. When we're talking about automations, the basic automations are like track my order. How do I return? Track my order. Initiate a return. Frequently asked questions. Hey Steve, how you doing?
My guy, how are you? Oh, dude, you're honestly the best looking guy in ecom.
I'm over here. I got my studio set up, man. Look at this. I'm filming.
Oh, look at you!
Yes, I got the hair set up. I got everything going
We
good.
got a lot of content together.
I saw your videos the other day. I was in there looking at them. I'm like, man, this guy's doing it.
You like it?
Yeah, you're driving a lot of revenues off those videos, right?
I think we're starting to honestly.
Definitely.
It took a little bit though, to be honest, to get like actually. I don't know. I think it definitely helps with awareness. Nobody knows what the fuck we do and who we are.
Did you take Cut 30?
No,
Oh,
I
that's.
should.
I mean, I don't know that you need to. It's good. What you do is good. So I don't. Let me stop.